For the past 42 years, Randy has been broadcasting high school and college sports in southeast Nebraska. From 1976 to 92, he was the voice of the Bobcats and covered every Peru State football game for 17 straight seasons, as well as providing regular coverage of Bobcat basketball, volleyball, and baseball. An Elk Creek native who attended PSC from 1969 to 72, Randy established the Bobcat Football Network in 1986. During his career, he has called more than 3,000 sporting events. A successful businessman who spent his entire career in the grocery business, Randy's part-time radio career includes serving as a play-by-play announcer and a stint as a sports director at one of several radio stations. Randy's favorite moment was broadcasting the 1990 NAIA National Football Championship game while working with current Hall of Famer and longtime friend, Jerry Joy. Randy, please come and share a few words.
Good evening, everyone. My wife Lori was relieved when she saw that I brought some notes with me because she realizes this is Friday night, and ordinarily when I go on live without notes, the typical football broadcast runs 2.5, maybe 3 hours. I'd like to begin by congratulating my fellow inductees. I want to thank the selection committee for this incredible honor, and I want to thank Jerry Joy for the nomination. This is an exciting and humbling thing for me to be standing in front of you here this evening. I've been seeing the Facebook posts for the past few weeks that list many of the former inductees into this Hall of Fame, and it's a real honor for me to be now listed among them. I've been fortunate to have had the opportunity to get to know a lot of the former inductees, coaches like Jerry Joy, Tom Shea, Wayne Davison, John Gibbs, and others. Some of the athletes that I covered that are in here, guys like Nate Bradley, Ivan Weinglass, who's here tonight, Cornelius Riley, Elvin Holder, and the guy that I ran against a lot in high school, the incredible Jack Wires from Sterling. 10 years ago this week, I attended this same banquet to watch my son Todd and his teammates from the 92-93 basketball team being inducted. I got to tell you, joining that group of young men in the Hall of Fame for me is certainly very special. It's hard to believe it's been 25 years since I was known around here as the voice of the Bobcats, because many of the memories seem as if they happened yesterday. There were some humorous times and some incredibly emotional events that occurred during my tenure in the broadcast booth. I remember during a home game, Jerry Joy was my color commentator, and right in the middle of the game, we noticed that everybody was looking back at us instead of at the field. And when we finally figured out what was going on, Jerry ripped off his headsets and went out of the booth on a dead run. Apparently, he felt that part of his job description as the Dean of Students included evacuating the concession stand in case of fire. The concession stand was on fire right during the ball game. Fortunately, they were able to put it out, and they got it all put out, but the game and the broadcast went on uninterrupted, just without fresh popcorn. One homecoming Saturday, when my wife was working as the administrative assistant to the president here at the college, she arranged to have a trio of skydivers deliver the game ball before the football game. Well, game time came and no skydivers. They didn't show up. So we started without them. About an hour later, midway through the second quarter, the opposing team was driving the football down the field. The Bobcat defense was back on their heels. We needed something to stop the momentum, and suddenly everyone's looking up. Here come the skydivers floating into the Oak Bowl. The referees stopped the game, sent the teams to the sidelines so that the parachutists could land, and there they did, and they delivered the game ball exactly 1 hour late. Well, that little distraction disrupted the flow of the opposing team's offense. We forced a punt and went on to win the ball game. And the coaches all said, "Atta girl, Lori." During the years that Kent Probst and I worked together in the booth, Kent and Becky and Lori and I traveled all around the country. And Todd stole this story from me just a minute ago during the introduction, but I'm going to share it with you from my perspective. We soon discovered that the hotels we stayed in had a policy of providing a free drink, sometimes even a free meal, or at least a free cupcake to anybody celebrating their birthday. And as a result, we would celebrate Lori's birthday 1 week in Kansas and the next week in Texas, the week after that in Kentucky. And singing happy birthday to Lori kind of became a pregame ritual for us. I think she aged 4 or 5 years during that one season. One of the stories I enjoy telling most happened on the day of the national championship football game. We were setting up in the booth a couple of hours before kickoff, and a television crew from Pennsylvania came in. They were going to do a live telecast, and they were in the booth right next to us. And we could hear a very young announcer who was getting set up over there, and he was doing a sound check with the guys down in the satellite truck. And keep in mind, this is 2 hours before kickoff. He's not on the air. He put on the headsets, and he starts taking cheap shots at Peru and at Nebraska. And I still remember the kid exactly. He went to put his headsets on, and he says, "Good afternoon, everyone, from oh my God, Nebraska." He says, "Here we are in Cornstalk County." And about that time, a helicopter was landing at one of the hospitals in downtown Omaha, and he looks up and he says, "What's this? A flying machine delivering the game ball. That's right, folks, they have flying machines right here in Nebraska." And it went on, and he was really taking cheap shots. Finally, he says, "We know they can," the question on everybody's mind is, we know they can grow corn here in Nebraska, but can they play football on the level of the two-time defending champion Westminster? And you know, I was amused by his rantings, but I was also a little bit aggravated. And after we beat him, I just couldn't resist. I went over to the next booth, popped my head in the door as he was tearing down his equipment. I said, "Son, yeah, we can grow corn here, and it looks like we can play pretty fair football, too." And he gave me a big grin and just shook his head and looked down. So, one of the most touching and emotional moments of my broadcast career came on that same day. Late in the national championship game, Adrian Whitty made an interception that kind of sealed the win for the Bobcats, and it began to dawn on all of us that Peru State was about to become the national football champions. It still gives me a chill thinking about that. And my broadcast partner, Jerry Joy, simply said, "We're in, Randy." And as his voice trailed off, I looked over and saw a tear going down Jerry's cheek. And I started to realize just how much that national championship was going to mean to everybody connected with Peru State football. And that, I have to tell you, is one of the few times in my broadcast career that I was ever really struggling to find the words to describe the situation that we were in at that moment. A lot of good things happened to me because of my Peru State broadcast. I covered other sports besides football, and I really enjoyed seeing some of the local athletes from the immediate area get a shot at playing college ball for the Bobcats. Sometimes I had no idea how some of those athletes might someday fit into my life. In the mid-'80s, I enjoyed seeing a young man from Fall City. He was playing basketball for John Gibbs, and little did I know that a few years later, Andy Hall would be my son-in-law. And now I still get to watch the Hall boys play basketball. I got to travel with John Gibbs and his team to the NAIA National Championship Tournament in Nampa, Idaho in 1993. Ivan Weinglass, you remember that one, don't you? Those were very special broadcasts to me because my son Todd was playing on that team. We defeated Findlay of Ohio in the first round, and a special memory from me from that one was watching Todd score in double figures, and then he headed directly from the basketball court to the media room, still wearing his uniform, to write a story to meet a deadline for the Auburn newspaper. He was working for the newspaper and covering the same games that he was playing in. That's something I'll always remember. Without a doubt, though, the luckiest thing that came out of my broadcasting of Peru sports happened to me in the mid-'80s. KAUB-FM in Auburn was the flagship station for the Bobcat Football Network. And there was a young lady working at the station that seemed interested in sports, and she also happened to have her brother playing for the Bobcats, so she started riding along with me to the games. And we had a lot of fun, follow the Bobcats. And in 1987, I married my wife, Lori. Thank God for Peru State football. I want to say thank you to my wife, Lori, for being here, to my children and their spouses, my grandchildren, other family, and all of the friends that showed up here this evening. It helps make this evening very, very special. Peru State had some fantastic successes in athletics during my tenure as their announcer, and I will always be thankful that I got to go along for the ride. I want to again say thank you to the selection committee for this honor. It will always help serve as a reminder to me of the incredible experiences that I had during my run as the voice of your Bobcats. Thank you.